Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and life coach Tom Wells here. Today is Monday, February the 5th, 2018, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Your first daily dose of happy for the day. And all you football fans, I hope you got a little sleep after yesterday's game. It was a pretty exciting game. And I know Philadelphia still is awake. They never went to sleep. But the rest of the country went to sleep, you know. Philadelphia, first Super Bowl win in their history. That's pretty exciting for their team.
Yeah, that's pretty unusual.
Yeah, and good for them.
It was a great game.
You know, I mean, which ties in with our topic, because the topic is all about having fun. And yesterday there was a lot of fun to be had. So, you know, that was all good stuff. How was your weekend? Did you have fun this weekend?
Yeah, I did. I went to a big Super Bowl get-together with friends I've known for 40 years.
Very nice.
That was just good to see all those people again. That's mainly why I went, but it was a great game too. And yeah, I had a good time. And how about you?
I did too. I mean, I had things I was working on this weekend on myself and made some good progress, particularly last night with my wife. So that was a pretty big win. I mean, anytime that you break through long existing resistances, that's a big win in my book. So I mean, it wasn't easy. It took quite a bit to work through it, but yeah, some breakthroughs, and breakthroughs are my big win, and I love it. So, and we have
that's really good.
We have another big win that's happening today. It hasn't quite happened. It will happen sometime later today. I would guess within the next few hours, but we are going to reach our 20,000th play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is a banner day, a red letter day, as they say.
Yeah. Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to all of us. I mean, all of you guys have really helped to pull this thing up. I mean, a year ago, we were at, from the time that we started in November 2016 recording this stuff, we were at maybe a couple hundred plays around this time. I mean, it was not very much activity at all. It's all happened in the last year.
A couple hundred total plays?
For that time period, from November through January. And
okay.
Yeah, I mean, really small number. Maybe that many. I think it was actually less. And which is kind of indicative of what happened for the first 5 years of the podcast. Very small numbers, 20 here, 30 there, that kind of thing. And then just in the past year, you guys came on board, and it was just like this upgoing swoop of activity. So I've been really excited about that. I think it's fantastic. And I can hardly wait to see what's going to happen, because we've got that going. Plus, there's the book that we're working on. It's coming along really well. A lot of really interesting stories, including yours, by the way, having been submitted. And it's good stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really good stuff. I mean, people are going to like this book. Let me tell you, when this thing is done, they're going to find this book to be inspiring, enjoyable. It's going to be reinforcing over and over every story. Oh, wow, the law of attraction really does work. I mean, here's evidence. People telling stories about these amazing things that happen in their lives, incredible things.
That's really nice.
And, of course, best of all for our listeners, they're going to get listeners who are loyal listeners who keep listening carefully. They're going to find out just around the time that we release the book how they can get a copy of the ebook for free. So there's also that benefit to it. It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty big book. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. So far,
I'm looking forward to it.
We haven't collected all the stories yet, but so far we got about 35, 36 stories, and I'm guessing we'll have well over 50, maybe 60, perhaps even more stories by the time we're done. I don't know what the exact count's going to be, but there's going to be a lot of good stuff.
That's a big book.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, you could make that into 2 books.
We'll do it.
I don't know if to do that. But.
We want to give people as much value as we can give them for as low a price as we can give them. So
yeah, go for it.
And it's fun to do.
Yeah,
that's the other thing that's cool when we're writing the stories. Writing the stories is fun. I mean, it's a little work, but it's fun because it gives us the authors of the book, and there are currently around 40 of us, a chance to tell our own stories to ourselves again, and basically reinforce these really great things that happen in our lives. So, I mean, it's a win-win-win-win with this kind of thing. And it ties in with the topic, too. What was that?
Well, I experienced that when I was writing my story, because mine's the story about how I came to law of attraction and how it changed my life. So I definitely fleshed it out with more interesting understandings and just a bigger perspective on in my life because of law of attraction. It's pretty powerful, pretty
yeah.
amazing, and it's still going on. The transformation is daily.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, just all the different ways we feel like we've reached a certain level, and then the next day there's a brand new level. It's like, whoa,
yeah.
This is wild.
That's what I was going to say. When you said what's your win, for this show, and I was thinking my win is that every day since Friday, so Friday, Saturday, and Sunday has been another notch up in my experience of the beauty of my life and the potential of my life and how things are unfolding for me in a beautiful way, and that right there is really what it's all about. And that's what our entire show is about today, how it's the fun of the journey that matters more than anything else. That's what it really comes down to. And to sort of talk about that, how does that work? What do you mean? You can't live by fun. You got to live by effort.
That's the social rule, right?
Well, it's been the dominant way of thinking, and certainly in this culture.
Most cultures, I think, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big message out there, and of course that's because you can get results by making effort.
You can
get results by trying hard, and so therefore people feel like that's the way you do it, and that's the price you pay. You have to pay a price if you want to be happy. So then you can go have fun, then you can go play.
There it is.
Enjoy your
there.
life after you make your effort.
That's it, right there. The idea. I mean, if effort is something that's enjoyable, because effort can be enjoyable. If you're enjoying it and it's fun and you're really psyched to do it every day, then effort is wonderful. Effort is fantastic. The problems happen when effort becomes a drag, when effort becomes difficult and tiring and exhausting. When that happens, it's actually counterproductive, and that's the part that takes a little while to wrap our heads around, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a whole other way to get results, and I believe the results can be more wonderful in a way. Thinking about the Super Bowl game and the whole thing of sports, it reminded me when we were talking of something Abraham. They were talking to somebody about playing sports and the whole thing of how many hundreds of thousands of millions of people follow sports, and they were saying, it's ironic that more good and more positivity emerges in the world from sports and people watching sports than it does from all the religions of the world combined. Because the religions of the world combined, there's a lot of efforting and a lot of struggle to do everything right in the eyes of, the Almighty, you might say. That whole concept, of paying a price in order to have salvation and going through, the trials and tribulations of this life. But then when you look at the world of sports, people turn to that for fun in so many ways. Now, some people get really serious about it and make it into a really big deal, but most people, no, they go and do sports so they can laugh and they're going to hang out with their friends and they're going to drink a beer or whatever they do. They're going to have fun.
Right.
And Abraham was pointing out that vibration, raising that vibration of thousands of millions of people is really a good thing on the planet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it.
And suddenly I had a completely different view of sports ever since then.
Sports, I mean, there's so many different ways to experience sports and to enjoy sports. And, I mean, there are some people who make it their lives. I'm not sure I want to make it my life. But sports can be a great way to do all the things you described about, feeling good and spending time with friends and enjoying life. And that's really much more critical, I think, than people often realize. I mean, certainly we all want to have fun. Certainly we like to enjoy life. But I don't think people realize the role it plays in having other things go right in your life, which is partly what you discovered through the research that you did leading up to the show. The fact that it's kind of like a snowball that builds up, and as it rolls downhill, it just gains more and more momentum the more fun that you have, right?
Well, yeah, as long as you learn how to let yourself really have the fun. And I think for me, see, since I approach a lot of things through understanding and, having insight into something. So when I got the insight from Abraham a number of years ago that if I would just play and have more fun, I would have more of what I want in my life. Well, on the one hand, that makes sense intuitively because you say, well, because I'm having more fun, therefore I'm vibrating with more happiness, more ease, more relaxation, more vitality, more enthusiasm. So I'm going to be happier. I mean, there's no way I'm not going to be happier if I'm truly having fun and truly playing in my life. And then the question was just how much can I do that? So I made a decision a number of years ago that, okay, I'm just going to make that as my priority. Every day is about having fun. And if I'm not playing at my life and making it a lighthearted, wonderful, relaxing event, then I'm missing the point of being alive. And so that was a wonderful way for me to start seeing life because I feel like I was sort of like getting permission from these characters that live in the unseen realm, that this is really the way life works. So let go and play. And the interesting thing is in the years since then, which has been about 4 years, I've really seen how much playing and having fun is not a muscle I've developed.
Yeah, isn't that something?
I mean, I can do it. I've done it a bunch, but
Sure.
I've got a long way to go in a certain way to get really good at lightening up and chilling out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's so easy to fall into the habitual patterns that we build up over time, and those, especially when those habitual patterns become patterns that aren't fun. Even though they're not fun, we still fall into them.
Well, like we've talked about at every show, which is that's what we were conditioned with as kids to believe because the society said it's time to go to school, it's time to quit having fun and playing out with your friends all the time. You got to now buckle up, pull your chair up to the table here, eat your peas. You got to do everything according to a regimented program that we've got laid out for you as your parents and teachers that is going to give you the life you want. You're going to end up with security and safety if you follow our plan here, and happiness because you'll end up with a house in the suburbs and a really nice car and a really nice family. And, everything that you want is going to come by you following the dictates of going to school and doing everything, getting the job properly the way we tell you. The only thing that was missing in a lot of that formula was understanding that play and fun actually is the doorway into having everything you want. They said the doorway into having everything you want is your efforting.
Right.
Your struggle. You're trying hard. You're getting A's. You're being on the top of the list. You're getting the right job. And doing all that. Abraham's coming along and saying, actually, it's the universe is designed a little differently than that. There's this thing called the vortex, which we talked about our last show, where it's a repository of everything you've ever wanted, even for lifetimes, and everything every day when you know what you don't want, you put into this vortex exactly what you do want. And the vortex is always increasing the thing that you do want based on everything it knows. This divine force knows that you want in your life, this infinite intelligence. And the doorway into that vortex of everything you want is the doorway of hope and belief. So if you get to the place of having hope and belief, then the vortex will pull you in, and the things you want in your life will begin to show up without you having had to struggle to get them. That's the little trick. That's the whole trick of this whole law of attraction stuff is, you mean I could have the wealth I want, the relationships I want, the house I want, and the peace of mind I want, the joy I want, just by relaxing and having fun and believing and hoping that all the stuff I want is already created for me. It's like, what? But that's the way it works, And so Abraham was saying, try an experiment for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Try just putting fun as your priority. And every day when you get up, just decide that I'm going to make fun my priority in my life. or call it vitality, or call it enthusiasm, or call it playfulness, or call it interest. I'm going to really have an interesting life. But watch and see if life doesn't deliver to you the results of exactly what you're expecting. And the thing is, for me, is doing that every day. That seriousness has been my way of doing things for so long that I tend to, slide towards seriousness. I slide towards making things intense.
Oh yeah, we're
and
good
then
at that.
it's into trying, and it's into efforting, and it's into struggling a little bit more. And I love the idea that I'm really leaving that behind, and I'm coming into the world of asking myself constantly throughout the day, is this fun? Is this fun? Am I enjoying this? Is this fun?
Very good.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's really good. There was another thing that I ran into yesterday. I finished up my first ever, believe it or not. I had never read the book before. This is one of the earliest Abraham books, the one called The Law of Attraction, The Basic Teachings of Abraham. I finally finished it yesterday. After not having read it all these years, I finally read it. And in the last pages of the book, I don't remember exactly where, but like the last 20 pages or so, they mentioned how people will live that, what we'll call the American dream, right? What you described, where you work hard and you get yourself the A's and do all the stuff so you can have the house in the suburbs and the great job and the family and all that kind of thing. They say the people will do all that, and then by the time they get to their 30s and 40s, they stop dreaming. They just give up on dreaming anymore. And that's death. That's killer right there, because dreams are what fuel us, right? Dreams are what keep us going. You dream something, it becomes a reality, and then you go after the next dream. Well, that only happens if you understand and work with this concept of the law of attraction and this concept of being an intentional fun haver. Somebody who intentionally wants to every single day do what you said. Feel good, have fun, enjoy it, be interested in it, all that kind of thing, and to do that every single day. If you don't go into it with that attitude, then despite having everything, you can find that your life becomes less and less satisfying, which goes to show it isn't so much the things, it isn't so much the life of having all, the family and the home and the good job and so forth. It's the dreaming, it's the believing, it's the fun part, it's the getting excited part. It's the part where we decide, you know what, I'm going to go for an even bigger dream now. Okay, well, I achieved one. Why not go for another one? Go for something even more fun, more enjoyable. Let's take this to the next level. That only happens when you appreciate the power and importance of dreaming and getting you to that place in the first place. Whereas if you get there totally by effort and you're not deliberately creating along the way, you're not using the power of LOA along the way, you wear yourself out. That's what we have a term for.
Yeah.
It's called burnout, right? That's what burnout is.
Well, and called old age, and called, I was thinking of the different friends at this party last night and how many of them, they don't, feel particularly that anything else is happening, and, they're all in their over 60, and I don't think any of them feel like much else is happening other than they're riding out the rest of the years of their life. They're not, I didn't get the feeling that in talking to a number of them that most of them feel like that this is really an exciting time of their life and this is a stimulating, adventure that they're on. Maybe to some degree, but I feel like that's not built into our culture so much as is the concept that, you make your effort and you do all your stuff when you're young, and then you finally amass enough money and enough things that then you can coast, and then your life becomes just enjoy what you got, and that's great. It's great to enjoy life no matter what age we are, but I think what you're saying is that there's a way to be more adventuresome or more interested in the potential of life, to keep being a amazing infinite adventure of unfolding possibilities. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, unfolding possibilities and actively using your imagination. When you are just a spectator, which is what so much of the coasting that you're talking about really involves. When you're a spectator, you're just spectating. you're really not involved in it very much at all. You can say that it's enjoyable, but let's be perfectly honest, spectating compared to actively getting out there and enjoying, it's pale by comparison.
Well, it's the difference of the players on the field and the fans in the stands.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's fun to be a fan in the stands. It is.
It's fun to be a fan. It's a whole experience there. But the playing, I feel like in our culture we emulate a lot of people. We emulate singers. We emulate actors. We emulate athletes. We probably even emulate politicians to some degree.
Well, I'm not. I'm trying not to, but.
Well, we sort of. I felt, years ago that, if I could sit in my house and watch television and watch movies, or go out to movies, which so many people love to do, that it's a really cool thing to watch these amazing actors and watch these dramas unfold in these comedies. And, it's like, oh my God, it fills us with all these great stories and all this interest. And then for me, I said to myself, yeah, but, I want to be the one living the exciting thing I'm watching. So if there's a movie and there's some character having this amazing life and we're watching it unfold, whether it's an action adventure or it's a comedy or it's whatever it is, I said to myself, I want to be sure my life is the most interesting movie going on. I don't want to just be deferring to somebody else as being the one who's got the most going on, the most wonderful possibilities unfolding for them, and I'm sitting watching it as a fan, passively. So I want to be the player on the field. That's what I'm saying,
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you're the player
on the
field,
be as alive as I can possibly be.
Because when you're the player on the field, that's when you have the opportunities to find new ways to have fun. You're not just repeating the old ones. So much of what we do, like you described a list there, going to watch sporting events, watching film, watching entertainers, listening to music, basically being passive spectators to a whole bunch of things. That's great, but eventually, and it actually doesn't take too long, eventually you start to stagnate. And stagnation is your first step toward that downhill path. And now all of a sudden, what was joyful is not as joyful anymore, and actually becomes less and less joyful. It can actually become tedium. It can even become a place where you start to feel impatient, which is actually a good sign when you think about it. When you're impatient, it means you need to move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find that for me to stay, I have so much I'm interested in that I couldn't even read the books I've got in my house, that I haven't read yet. I've got so much that interesting things.
Are you one of those people who buys like a stack of books and you have like 50 books and you pick one out and you read that one, there's another 49 to read? Is that the kind of person you are?
Kind of. I've read a little bit of a whole lot of the books that I have, and I've read some of them completely, but each book, when I bought it, has represented some leading edge, exciting possibility that I'm pursuing at that moment. But sometimes I'll make the mistake of ordering like 4 books in that field, and then, I won't get around to reading them. And then I'm looking at my books a year later going, oh yeah, that's where I was at a year ago, but now I've kind of moved on. But then sometimes it comes full circle, like, I start pulling out, like lately I've been pulling out books on understanding dreams again, and I'm fascinated to be back into the world of dreams and what dreams have to show us. And so I get those books out and I put them in a pile like, oh, this is a book I really want to get back into. But then all of a sudden I add to that pile, say, another Abraham book, and then I put in the book on positivity, and then I add the book on quantum physics, some other quantum physics book, and pretty soon it's a stack of 10 books, and then I got to read them all. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized, well, my happiness doesn't live in these books. My happiness lives in every moment. And so, if I'm having fun with the books, fine. But my happiness has got to come from the feeling that I have inside myself of how good it feels. How good does it feel?
And that touches on it.
What's that?
That touches on it right there. The fact that you said your happiness has to come in terms of what you feel. That's we haven't really said it before, but it's probably the most important insight. Happiness is an inside job. Happiness doesn't happen because of stuff that happens outside of us. We like to think it does. We like to think that when, we watch an enjoyable film or have a fun conversation that it came from outside of ourselves. But in reality, all happiness is an inside job. It all happens inside. It's our chosen reaction to any given situation. And it's completely up to us how we're going to react, right? So if we choose to react in a positive way, then it's a positive experience. If we choose to react in a negative way, then it's a negative experience. It's not that it happened to us, it's that we made the choice. It seems like it happened to us, but it was actually us making the choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's sort of the key. I mean, when I made the massive change in my life about 4 years ago, it was largely because I made one fundamental decision, and that is, I'm going to feel good today no matter what. And I put it up on my mirror. Mm-hmm. I said my dominant intention from this moment forward is to feel good. I'm going to look for ways to feel good throughout my entire day. I'm going to make it number one on my list of things to do. And no matter what else I accomplish that day, I'm going to make feeling good my priority. And I realized it's a self-generated decision to feel good. And sometimes, yes, we have to distract ourselves by turning on the television, watching something we really like, or we need to go out for a walk in nature, or we need to put on our headphones and listen to our favorite music, or we need to, those are all external circumstantial things we can do. But what we really want, a non-conditional happiness that doesn't depend on the external things being perfect, but depends on us making a choice. This is how I feel, I don't know how other people feel about it, but I need to make a choice continually throughout my day to have fun, continually choosing to enjoy. I got to look for, and I've actually learning to ask myself, always, is this really what I want to be doing next during my day? Now, if you've got to go to work and you've got to face that you don't like it or it's not that much fun, then the question is, for me is, can I make it fun? How can I have more fun? I know when I had this college textbook business for 27 years, and sometimes it wasn't fun to just go on a college campus and spend my whole day buying and selling textbooks, but I always would ask myself, well, how can I make it fun? And it became fun by, all the interactions I'd have with all the professors and other people I would interact with throughout my day. And I had so many fun days because I chose to set my day up that way. In other words, I made a decision. I'm going to just have fun today. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to talk to people and I'm going to be really cheerful and I'm going to be happy and I'm going to look for having a good time. And those days, man, some days I made most money on those days. And I would even sit in a professor's office sometimes for 2 hours and have this incredible discussion when I know I should be out there knocking on more doors and visiting more people. But then I would all of a sudden just make this big windfall. And it happened so many times. I would make money right after I had just relaxed and had a whole bunch of fun. Then the money would flow. And that's actually the essence of this podcast today. The essence of how everything works is that once you realize that everything's in your vortex, that you've already put into your vortex 97% of everything is complete already, the last 3% that you need to do is to relax, have fun, and be playful, and the last manifestational part will show up. And that's the ironic, counterintuitive part of law of attraction, is that you don't get these final manifestations of the money you want, and the relationships you want, the things you want in your life. You don't get them by your effort. You get them by your relaxation. You get them by your fun and your playfulness.
Yeah, it's true.
And and as I dug into listening to all these different segments of Abraham talking about it, they just said that this is counterintuitive. We understand. It doesn't seem like the way that you're going to really have everything you want is by allowing it to come from your vortex. So if you're in a high vibration, high flying place where you feel really good, you're vibrating with the thing you want that's in your vortex, because You only want the stuff that's in there because you think you're going to feel better in the having of it. But you've got to feel better now in order for those things to come. And eventually you come to realize it's feeling better that I want. It isn't the thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It really isn't the certain amount of money. It really isn't the exact relationship. It's wonderful to have that relationship and that money, and it will enable us to do more things in our life, but then we're just going to have more desires. Like you were saying, you get one thing and you want to have a new dream. You want to then pursue something more, you know? So the whole thing is, are you enjoying the adventure, the journey along the way of getting there? And that's the key to more good things coming. You're having a good time, and more good things will come.
Very true. In fact, the whole concept of what Abraham calls the law of allowing is a tricky concept. It's a concept that trips us up, and it's why we don't tend to think that, you know, having fun is so important. But the reason the law of allowing is so important is that law of allowing is actually dealing with what we might call the opposite of allowing, which is resistance. We have these built-in resistances, and by built-in I mean we built them in through our experience and through our choices. But we have these resistances, many of which we don't even know are there. We're not consciously aware of them. But those resistances are the very same things which prevent us from completing the transaction, from getting the you know, like you said, the money, the house, the relationship, whatever it is, getting the stuff that we've been looking for showing up in our lives, all because we have these resistances. So the law of allowing is actually the most important part. It's actually more important in some ways than using the law of attraction, which is about vibration and like attracts like. It's even more important than the law of deliberate creation, where you're putting your thought out there and you know, specifying to the universe, you're placing your order with the universe, so to speak. It's actually even more important than both of those, because without the law of allowing, the first two don't work. You have to be able to allow this stuff in. You have to remove your own built-in resistances that you've built up over the years through what you've learned and what your parents and teachers taught you and what your society taught you. All these little resistances that make you believe that you really can't have it. You're not going to let it in, that it's not good for you, that this, that, the other thing, all the different reasons why you're not allowed to have it. Isn't that an interesting phrase? Not allowed to have it. Well, you have to allow. Yeah. Allowing is critical. If you can't allow, it ain't going to show up. And that's why that's why so many people say, well, the law of attraction isn't working for me. And it actually is, but they don't recognize that they're just not allowing. And then they'll give you all the reasons why it's not working, and they'll wonder why it's, you know, well, what do you mean I'm not allowing? Well, you're giving all the reasons why it's not working. You by stating all these things, all these reasons why you say it's not working, and I can tell from the way you're saying it that you're not feeling good about it, you are not allowing. That is the act of not allowing. And that's mind-boggling.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It's not allowing, not aligning, you know, not having a good feeling, you know. Abraham was saying that's their analogy of, like, if you go to make toast and you get out the bread and you open the package and you put a piece of toast in the piece of bread in the toaster, you push the lever down and it never pops up. It never gets toasted because you forgot to plug it in. And they said it's the plugging in is the allowing. The plugging in is the alignment with your fun and your ease and your chilling out and your relaxation and your basking and your enjoying. That's the energy that toasts your toast. So, you know, you want to get a result in your life, but they were saying it's sort of like if you wanted to go from Phoenix to San Diego and you're in Phoenix and you can't, you say, I'm too busy to go look around my house. I don't know where my car keys are. I'm too busy. I got too much that I've got to do to go bother to look for my car keys. I've just got to get going. I'm going to walk to San Diego. And they said that's about the same analogy as not aligning and not allowing, because the going and finding the car keys will make you a lot more pleasurably and a lot quicker than if you just say, I'm just going to use my effort to get to San Diego. I'm just going to start walking. They said, but that's how we kind of live our lives. We live our lives, not putting alignment and allowing and relaxation and fun and ease first, and that's simply because we learned the wrong way of approaching life, and because you can get results. You can walk from Phoenix to San Diego. You can get there that way, but it's a much different journey than if you just get in your car, or even different, go to the airport and get on a plane. So there's these options of how we can live our life. But the counterintuitive one, the one we haven't learned, is the one why we have this podcast. It's because we're trying to remember and talk about and reorient ourselves to the fact that life actually is designed in a much more agreeable way, in a much more wonderful way than we've thought.
Oh, yeah. I love the metaphor that Mike Dooley uses to describe the same thing. And once again, a car metaphor. He says, let's assume you want to go from, San Diego to Phoenix or whatever. And so you get all excited about the trip, and, you get everything together. You pack your suitcase. You put your suitcase in the car. You're in the car. You started the car. You're getting all excited. You're visualizing. You can visualize the whole trip. You can visualize yourself going down the highway, and the traffic is flowing freely, and you got your vision boards in the back seat, and you're ready to go. But you never actually get there because you don't put the car in gear.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, I actually have to get out of that way, don't I?
Yeah.
Get out of my own way, in a sense.
Yeah, it's the teacher I had for 40 years from India, this guru, he used to say, it's like you tie your boat's tied to the dock, and you get in it, and you start rowing, and you're rowing and rowing and rowing and wondering why you're not getting anywhere. It's because you never untied your boat. You never freed your consciousness to flow in the river of life. You just stayed tied to your concepts that, it's just hard work that matters. It's the effort I'm making that matters. Look, I'm trying. And it's so frustrating, right, to try so hard. I mean, it's funny how built into me it is. So this belief in hard work. I mean, I look back at those years of going to school for so long, and then of course the rewarding I got around my house was also, Tom, if you do a beautiful job on cutting the lawn and scrubbing the floor and keeping your room clean and helping out around here, you'll be, we'll really appreciate you a lot more. You'll get a lot more love from us if you show up that way. And then if you do really good in school and you do everything, make effort, Tom, make effort. This is how you get ahead in life. And it's like, that's so ingrained in me that now to change this whole dynamic is, sometimes I'm just laying there on the couch in the middle of the afternoon and I'm completely taking a nap, and I'm going, how can I afford to be laying on the couch in the middle of the afternoon taking a nap? I have things to do. I've got to, get ahead in life. I've got to get more things done. And then so many times I've realized, this is the first time in my life I've let myself relax like this, and just chill and just, let things happen, let things come to me, let my boat go downstream instead of rowing upstream. So what's it like to flow downstream?
A skeptic might listen to our conversation and say, well, they're talking about how important it is to let life come to you, and by the same token, they're talking about, well, you got to put the car in gear. You got to make an effort. Well, make up their minds. Which is it? Do you make an effort or don't you make an effort? And it's certainly easy to get tripped up on that. The important thing to understand and to remember, at least from my perspective, is effort is a part of being alive. The question isn't whether or not we need to make an effort at some point. We do need to make an effort. The question is whether or not effort is our sole vehicle for getting there. Are we going to rely totally on effort, or are we going to mainly rely on how the universe works to do the heavy lifting for us, and then just put in the minimal effort needed to make, to kind of kick the whole thing into gear? It's an entirely different level of effort.
Yeah, it's sort of like I've heard it said by Abraham, do you get, when you want to go someplace in your car, you don't need to open the engine and start taking off, the cylinder, to start opening up the engine and helping the pistons, move in their chambers, and helping the spark plugs fire, and all this stuff. You don't need to do all that. You just need to turn the key, start the car, put it in gear, and drive it, and let all the hard stuff be done by the thing that's already been figured out. It's already in the vortex of the car's engine, you could say. The car's engine's like the vortex. It's going to do it all for you if you just do the basic necessary things to enjoy the ride. Enjoy driving that car from point A to point B. The engine will do all the work. But sometimes in our lives, we get into thinking we have to be the ones in there making the entire thing happen. Like that's what you were saying, right? I mean, we try so hard. We way overdo the effort part of it.
So to tie it into a real world scenario, I mentioned earlier in the show how my wife was helping me work through some stuff. One of the things that I was trying to work through, again, very basic stuff, is I was feeling down. And I was feeling down in a way where I almost felt lethargic, like nothing that I had planned to do, including fun stuff, I couldn't get myself to do it. I couldn't get myself to raise a finger to do it. And, long story short, I had built up resistance. I had built up a resistance to doing the fun parts. And I'd actually turned, believe it or not, Tom, I'd actually turned the fun parts into hard work in my mind.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
I actually did that. And one of the things I was going to do this past weekend, I've talked in the past week or so about, writing your own fairy tale. And so I said to myself, time for me. I haven't written my own fairy tale in a while. I should do that. I'm going to do that this weekend. So I woke up Saturday, and I started my day, and a couple things that I had to deal with. And then I finally got to the point where, okay, I can write my fairy tale. And you know what? I didn't want to do it. I just didn't want to. And the moment that I didn't want to, I start to feel bad, like, oh, God, I don't want to do something fun. And then it turned into this whole long, spiral of, oh, geez, I don't even want to have fun anymore. Well, what's the point if I'm not going to have fun and I don't want to have fun? And, you just talk yourself into it, right? You talk yourself into this crazy
yourself
place.
Up for, beating yourself up for how you're feeling at that moment, whereas that feeling is just telling you something's not in alignment with your higher self, but
exactly. But I didn't think that.
But you don't want to.
Even though I knew the rule, even though I knew the rule that meant I was just not in alignment with my higher self, did that come to my mind? No, it didn't. It didn't. It could. It should have. I wish it had. I wish I'd had the presence of mind to say, wait a minute, this is just me being out of alignment with myself, with my inner being. All I got to do is realign. But I forgot to do that, And as a result, I ended up spending a large portion of the day just feeling lethargic. I mean, just feeling down. And so by the time Sunday evening came around, I was, in that sense, I was in a bad place. Fortunately, I'm married to a wife who, I started expressing all this to her, and she helped me work through it, and finally realized what it was I was doing, and found a few pieces of resistance that I didn't even know I had. That's the cool part, when you discover resistances that you don't even know that you have. It sounds nasty. I mean, who would want to find resistances? But you got to find them so you can get rid of them, so you can get past them. And once you find them, it's like, oh, now I have a route out. And interesting you should say, you use the words, you beat yourself up over it. Guess what one of my resistances was? Beating myself up. That was one of the ones that we found, and it's one that I have a long history of doing. I think most people do to one extent or another. And
I do. Yeah. So being critical about ourselves.
Oh, gee, Williker, it's just give it a rest. Stop beating the drum.
Yeah. I'm in a channeling class, to learn how to channel like Abraham does, and that's the thing that that's the biggest roadblock I ran into over the last several weeks. The class had just started a few weeks ago, but was that I was getting really critical of what I was able to let flow through me from the unseen realm, from well, who is it that wants to speak through me? What are my guys called? Is it called Abraham? Is it called the Council of Radiant Light? Is it called, but I was trying to identify it, but I was being critical about my ability to let go and let things flow through me. And, once this teacher I was working with pointed out that she was just picking up a whole lot of self-judgment and a whole lot of being critical about the whole process. And she said, you're just way overblowing the fact that this is just a natural thing and everybody can channel. It's just this most natural thing to you. You've done it before with automatic writing. Just go back to whatever it was you were doing. And I did that, and I was able to channel just fine. So I just dropped all the critical expectation, of myself, having to live up to some standard. And I've been in the exact same place you've been when you get lethargic like that and you feel like nothing is inspiring. And what I've come to at those points is to ask myself, okay, so what is it that I do want to do in this moment? If I could be completely non-critical and non-judgmental about where I'm at, what would I do? And sometimes it's take a nap,
Yeah.
Or sometimes, the only thing I want to do is go up into the mountains and sit on, the creek, I'm going to go sit on the creek on my favorite rocks, So I go do that. But it's like, that's okay. In the past that it wouldn't be okay to not be performing to some level of expectation.
Right.
And now I'm willing to relax because I'm developing a new muscle called the muscle of appreciation, the muscle of relaxation, the muscle of enjoyment. And so to develop that muscle, I've got to allow myself to enjoy rather than always turning back to trying to meet some standard of excellence, of performance, of action, and realizing that the energy that keeps the planets spinning in proximity to each other in the universe is the energy that I'm trying to tap into. I'm trying to tap into the energy that holds molecules together, the energy that keeps my entire body functioning, that energy that is life itself, and let my blessings come from tapping into that rather than all the push and the pull of me making things happen, just by my action. Action is important, but action without alignment, to me is not what I want any longer. That's all. I don't want to get my results by all my trying.
Right. Oh yeah. In fact, you used a great word there, and it's one I'm actually writing down because I want to remind myself about this one. The word was expectation. And expectation is one of those two-edged swords. It just depends on how you feel about it. If the expectation is exciting and fun and, I'm looking forward to it and this is great, that's wonderful expectation. That's the best kind of expectation you can have. That's good expectation. That's the kind that helps fuel your fires. That's the kind that helps you, continue to draw in those things you've been trying to attract. That's the expectation that makes life fun and enjoyable and thrilling. Or there's the other kind of expectation, and that's the one that I keep tripping myself up on. I think other people do too. Expectation meaning I expect something to happen and it's not happening. I expect something, I get disappointed. I expect and it doesn't work, and I start to feel bad about it. It's the feeling bad kind of expectation, like the impatient kind of expectation. That's the one that just saps me. It's the one that takes all the energy away. And it's the same word, but it really means two different things when you think about it. One has to do with positive feeling stuff. The other has to do with negative feeling stuff. And that's how it becomes two distinctly different words, even though it sounds the same. It's so easy to get trapped into the negative expectation game, and so much better to latch onto the positive expectation game. So the rule I have to remind myself of is this. If I'm expecting something, how does it feel? Does it feel good or does it not feel good? If it doesn't feel good, stop it. Stop expecting it. Just stop that.
That's true.
Go to anything else. If it's an expectation that does feel good, go for it. That's the difference. I've made a note about expectation. I'm actually going to even do some writing about it today, just to remind myself about the difference between the two kinds of expectation, because that's the big insight I've got for the day. So thank you, Tom, for the insight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we get a lot of insights from each other. That's why I enjoy this show. I wanted to read this little thing from Abraham about having fun. They said that the leverage is not caring about the outcome. It's in not caring about the outcome and rather going for the fun. The leverage is in letting the chips fall where they may, knowing that they will be great. In other words, good things will happen when you relax about the outcome. And go for the fun. I'm in this for the fun. I'm in this for the thrill of watching the universe with all its talent and ability. I'm in it for the inspiration that I can discover, not for what my inspiration will then lead to. Because the moment you turn toward outcome, you've lost the leverage of inspiration, because now you're back in the action again. You want more sweet spots. You want less action and more noticing the magic of the universe. It really isn't magic. It's you tapping, and then they say, it's you tapping into the magic you put into your own vortex. And you believing that your vortex has then spun it into gold. And you're believing that you're worthy enough to receive the inspiration of it. And so you found this place where you hold yourself so you can let magic happen within you. And when magic happens within you, it feels like exhilaration. It feels like fun. It feels like timing, amazing timing. You can't go back to less than magic. You've got to go forward to more and more and more magic. You have to move into the whole expansion of who you are. You can't only be as good as you were last week. You've got to be as good as you are right now, you see, because the stakes are higher, your desires are more, there's more in your vortex, you're more ready to receive. But if you've allowed yourself to receive, now there's contrast that causes you to want to receive even more. Everything is expanding. And your desire to be in the receptive mode, in the allowing mode, that keeps growing. And it causes your inner being to expand. And so you've just got to keep up with that. And there's just amazing power and beauty in this whole process. And what you do is you chill out and you bask and you allow, and everything just comes to fruition in that place that you're in. And it's all about the thrill of the inspiration that's flowing through you. It's not the result. It's the joy of the journey. It's a never-ending journey, and the joy's in the newness of the journey. So I know that's a big mouthful, but does that resonate with you?
Yeah. I mean, the journey is where everything that's really worthwhile happens. And so when we spend
every moment.
Yeah, when we spend our time focusing on the journey, and the only thing I would add to it is wherever possible, we want to be in the journey as a participant rather than just a spectator to our own journey. Because if you're just a spectator, then you're in that spectator mode and you're just observing. Not that there's anything wrong with observing, it's just that it's not fulfilling. It's not something that after lots and lots and lots of observing that you feel so much better. Well, no, you don't actually. It's not like all that observing leads to having more fun or leads to the good stuff showing up or anything. It doesn't. It's just observing. But if you are on the journey and enjoying the journey for the good stuff that's happening on the journey, and you're excited about it, and you're involved and you're intrigued, and that's the kind of activity that you're doing. It's an activity that is appreciating the journey and feeling good and having fun with the fun stuff that's in the journey. That's where life happens, really. That's the life's sweet spot that you're talking about.
Yeah, more sweet spots.
Yeah,
it's quite an interesting way to live, to be excited about life and to be really exhilarated by this fact that it's an adventure. And I love that they're saying, it's really not about focusing on the outcome, sort of like releasing the outcome so that you can appreciate the journey, and then eventually just finding that the things you want are just flowing to you.
Yeah.
That's the trick right there. I think it's to get to a place where I'm relaxed enough, and I'm trusting enough, and I'm allowing enough, and I'm enjoying enough that, one thing after another just keeps showing up. And that's pretty much what my life's been for the last 4 years, which is why I, wrote a whole chapter for your book about that for me, because it's been so revolutionarily wonderful to watch things unfold and my life get better and better and better by simply relaxing. By basking in how easy it is to really be a human being. It really doesn't have to be a struggle.
Yeah, when we relax when we relax away from, I should say, when we relax away from the feeling of being self-critical or the negative expectation game, or when we relax away from all of those little resistances that we have built up, and we keep going with the joy that's going on right now and the happiness that's going on right now, and noticing the synchronicities that happen right now. It's like Wendy was telling me about a week ago, something like that, pointing out that when you get into that place where you are enjoying life every moment of the day, or as close to every moment of the day as you can, and you're doing so successfully so that you're really loving it, then an amazing phenomenon occurs. And that phenomenon is that the synchronicities and the unexpected events and the stuff showing up and so forth, it accelerates. The thoughts coming in accelerate. The positive thoughts, the positive experiences accelerate. There's more and more and more and more and more and more, and they just turn into the swirling vortex of all this great stuff going on. It just keeps increasing. And that's a fairly, it's not something I can say I've experienced a lot. I've experienced it occasionally. And I've always found some way to resist it. I'm like, oh, come on, Walt, stop it. But on those occasions where I've experienced it, it's been just, wow. It is amazing how fast it can accelerate in ways that I didn't think was possible. But it does.
Yeah. I've seen it happen, like with clients and with income, just how, the clients start coming and they start coming and they start coming, and it's just like so wonderful. It's just like they're calling me from all over the world, like Saudi Arabia and India, and people are contacting me to coach them, and I'm like, wow, this is just like, I'm just not doing anything. This is just, they're just finding me on the internet.
Yeah. When they show up, that's like that's that phenomenon. The stuff just keeps happening and keeps increasing. In fact,
and it's going on all the time. It's just that it's always in response to what our dominant vibration is. We're always getting incredible things coming to us from the universe, but they're always reflecting what our dominant vibration is. So they might not feel that great if our dominant vibration is fear or doubt or worry, but we're still getting the universe giving us everything that we're vibrating with.
Absolutely true. And if you like what the show is bringing you to, just want to remind you, subscribe and share. Take the time to subscribe if you have not become a subscriber. We've gone through the steps many times before, and I won't go through the whole route today other than to say you can do it through elwaytoday.net. You can do it through the iTunes store. You can do it through any app that's a podcast app that you download to your Android phone. But subscribe and then share with your friends, because it's the act of sharing that is an act of love. It's truly an act of love, because there aren't that many positive entertainment programs out there, Tom. I mean, there really aren't that many, and we're one of the few. So when you give the gift of, hey, you got to check out this podcast, you're giving a gift that makes a huge difference. It can make a big difference in people's lives. So you're doing yourself a favor when you subscribe. You're doing your friends a favor when you share. Subscribe and share. That's the message for the day, don't you think?
Yeah, it's definitely, I've been doing it lately with a number of people I've been meeting, when they say, what are you up to? And I say, well, one of the things I'm doing is this podcast. And then they want to know how they can plug into it. So they're writing it down. I've seen a number of people put it in their phone or write it on a piece of paper, LOAtoday.net.
Cool.
So it's exciting to think that it's, I'm watching it spread myself by telling people about it more and more.
And isn't it fun when you give it to somebody and you know that they're actually taking it in? It makes you feel good,
Yeah, and especially when they say, I listened to that, I really liked it.
Yeah.
Like a guy the other day said, I listened to one of your shows, that was really good, He says, how do I call in,
Oh, good.
I thought, oh.
Well, give them the number, the number's going to be changing sometime this month, I think. But for the moment, give them the 860-264-5432 to call in, because we'd love to have them call in. I love when we're talking to a listener, because it gives a whole new perspective to the show. It's a lot of fun. So looking forward to having more of those happen. But for the moment, we just have to say we're out of time. We can't take any calls today. Yeah. You'll have to do it next time you're on Friday or later this afternoon with Wendy. But Tom, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Walt. Appreciate it.
And we hope that you'll join us as well next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.